Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Florida Chamber's Bottom Line. I'm Matthew Choi, Director of Talent, Education, and Quality of Life here at the Florida Chamber. Joining me is Senator Manny Diaz from Senate District 36 and Chair of the Senate Education Committee. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's a pleasure to be on the show again, and thank you for having me. Welcome, Matthew.
So the Florida Chamber has long believed that a student's aptitude and work ethic should be defined by their future opportunity and not simply from their zip code. We have partnered with you, and we have partnered with many leaders in the past to ensure that parents are put back in the driver's seat when it comes to identifying and selecting the best learning atmosphere for their child. You have legislation this year that's working towards expanding school choice opportunities, and I wanted you to tell our viewers why it's such an important issue for you and what your bill does to advance this effort.
Well, first of all, when we talk about public education in general, I think first of all we have to define it, and that definition is, we can't forget our history. So public education started in this country to be able to educate a populace that would be able to uphold the republic, and that didn't mean that there were specific institutions to do that. Having said that, I think a lot of the complaints that we hear, that we have heard, are about parent involvement. Well, one way to cure parent involvement for sure is to have the parent involved in choosing where and what best setting is for their child, and that's really what this is about. It's allowing the dollars that are allocated by the legislature and that are paid for by the taxpayers. A lot of times people erroneously talk about how that money belongs to one institution or another. It doesn't. It belongs to the taxpayers, which are sending it to us to appropriate for the education of these children, and really having the power to have the parents make those decisions is really where we end up with a better future for our state. Not to mention the fact that with the growth that we have at this point, our public school systems are not going to be able to keep up with what we're seeing in the next 10 years.
So to quickly expand upon that, talent is quickly becoming the economic development tool of choice. And with another 5 million residents requiring another 2 million jobs to be created by 2030, talent development is critical for our state's continued competitiveness. A massive piece of that puzzle is going to be attracting and retaining world-class educators to prepare our students for the 21st century job market. What does your legislation do to ensure that we identify and keep the best teachers here in the state of Florida?
Without a doubt, that is the issue, and there's been different versions of that over the last few years. You've seen the legislature make an attempt to address that issue. I think what we're doing now is we're keying in on that recruitment piece, in which we have to go out and find content area experts that are really going to be able to educate our kids at the highest level. And when we talk about math, science, we talk about these jobs in the future, but also we have to be able to find these teachers that are able to teach these industry certifications. So it's a combination of all of it. How do we do that? We use the Best and Brightest program to go ahead and put dollars in for recruitment and retention of these teachers into the field, and figure out how to make sure that we attract the right ones teaching the right subjects to help our kids.
On the other side of that equation is the Florida businesses, and one of their biggest challenges is finding a qualified workforce for their open positions. How can those business owners help legislation move forward and impress on the legislators themselves the importance of addressing the so-called talent gap?
So I think the most important thing for businesses is, as a constituency, to speak to their legislators and have them understand how important these pieces are. Sometimes we have legislators that think more in the traditional blocks of what we've done in the past, and I think it's important that we get businesses to get them to understand what is really happening in the real world and what's affecting businesses. And these changes are needed in order to create that talent pool, because you're right, when you have unemployment below 4, you're looking at businesses that are giving us complaints that they just can't find skilled workers.
Senator Diaz, education is a complex issue, and we thank you for your support, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to coming back with some updates and hopefully moving the ball forward across the field.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of the Florida Chamber's Bottom Line.